Hello everyone and welcome to an incredible tactical skirmish from round 4 of this year's European Club Cup. We have a clash of generations in terms of age, but in terms of quality we have two incredible top-tier elite players. Vincent Keymer, who is trying to become world number 4, and Boris Gelfand, who is a legend in his own right. In 2012 he even challenged Viswanathan Anand for the title, and that's only one of his accomplishments. He tied the classical match. It was 6-6, and then after 4 rapid tie breaks, the match was decided in Anand's favor. 3 of the games were a draw, and Anand was able to take him down in that game 2, where it was a mess, a tactical mess in a complicated middle game, and Boris blundered, well, severely. But yeah, almost became world champion against none other than the great Vichy, and that is who is Vincent's opponent today. Vincent, not only with an incredible rating, he's also in incredible form, playing incredibly well, just crushing everyone. This game is exactly what you expect it to be, and more, as you'll see. So let's check it out. Vincent with white opens with pawn to e4. We have pawn to c5, the Sicilian defense, knight to f3, knight to c6. Now, I myself play pawn to b4 here, and I always enjoy my games, but I'm not a great player. These two are, and Vincent goes for bishop to b5, the Nyezhmetdinov-Rossolimo. We have pawn to e6 and castles kingside. Now, they're going to play some 10 moves of very well-known theory. Knight g to e7, rook e1, and knight to d4. We have a trade in the center where Boris has doubled pawns for the moment, but it's all been super analyzed, so no worries there. Pawn to c3, pawn to a6, we have bishop back to f1, and knight to c6. We have pawn to b4, believe it or not, the top played move in the position, and also the top move recommended by the engine. Bishop to e7, we have pawn to a4, preparing b5 at some point in the future, and the castle's kingside. We have knight to a3, and now pawn to d5. Again, the main move. Magnus Carlsen played this against Maxime Vachier-Lagrave once in 2021 in the some tournament, the what's it called, the Opera Euro Rapid, yeah. And d captures on c3 was played, but Magnus lost that game. Here we have pawn to d5, which is a pretty standard reply. E captures, we have E captures and pawn to b5. Okay, nothing new here. As you can see by their usage of time, they both are still in theory, just blitzing out moves. A captures on b5, A captures, and Boris goes back with knight to b8. C captures on d4 and knight to d7. And this is the first move where Boris actually spends some time, but it's still theory. Probably he just has to recollect. We have bishop to b2, and now there is a game where bishop to d6 was played, and now Boris deviates. He plays knight to f6, and bishop to d6 and knight to f6 are the two top engine moves, so both of them very well prepared, and it is now as of move 16 that we have a completely new game. I find it that when we have a game between younger players, we sometimes get new moves already as on move 4 or 5, or sometimes when you have games amongst when someone from the world top 10 is playing against someone who is not even in the world top 100, simply to get a game and surprise their opponents. But here it's as if we're seeing two old masters playing. They grind out the theory, and now we have a surprise. And Vincent, for his next move, spends 21 minutes, showing that he's also out of theory after this new move by Boris. We have knight to c2, and now Boris goes bishop to e6. Okay, for the moment this bishop is somewhat of a pawn, but if it works, it works. We have rook captures on a8. Vincent trades off a pair of rooks, and rook to e3, which is very nice, as you can shift it over to attack. It still prevents the bishop from moving, as the bishop on e7 is undefended, and also you gain more control over the a3 square, so you can play, for example, bishop to a3 and trade off the dark square bishops if needed. We have rook to c8, and now Vincent goes bishop to a3. Boris, of course, declines the trade, bishop to d8, and rook to c3. Beautiful move by Vincent, challenging Boris's rook here, and should Boris capture, then Vincent undoubles his pawns, and he has a great game. So, of course, he's not going to do that. We have queen to a4, and this is a bit of a nuisance for Vincent. The knight isn't pinned. You could unpin with knight e3 because the knight would defend the queen, but the knight is also defending d4, so you have to tend to the pawn. Vincent does so by playing bishop to c5, and now Boris goes back. Queen to a8. Okay, we have pawn to f3, controlling the knight, and knight to d7, chasing the bishop away. And Vincent does not go back. Vincent goes forward. We have bishop to d6, and this also is a little bit of a trick here because you've taken away the b8 square from the black queen. So if Boris made an ill-considered move like pawn to h5, which is not out of the question in some positions, here you just run into rook a3. And that's a big problem. You would have to block with bishop a5, but even if this wasn't losing by force, it just looks terrible, but it is losing by force, and you can easily win with b6. Seems like a silly move to play because the knight can just capture it, but you're preventing black from playing pawn to b6 to defend the bishop. And now after knight captures bishop b4, wins the bishop on a5. So beautifully orchestrated by Vincent, and that means that you have nothing better to do than to undouble Vincent's pawns, and that is what Boris does. Rook captures on c3, d captures, and now just queen to a2 once again. We have bishop to d3, so now the queen can move. You're defending the knight, but also you are putting pressure on Boris's king side. Knight to b6, maybe even considering a move like knight to c4 or knight to a4, and knight to e3. And here, Boris could play pawn to h6. That's perfectly fine. He could also go knight c4. This is also perfectly fine. If Vincent captures, then okay, you capture. You sort of slow down the pawn chain and prevent white from executing pawn to c4 to fix that b5 pawn. But here, after knight to e3, Boris played knight to a4, and Vincent is now completely winning, but he misses it. And the reason he missed it is because he's human. He's not an engine. And to find this move, you might even see it. You might even see glimpses of it, but calculating it is a completely different story. So just for fun, and I don't mean to sound rude, but if you actually find it, I mean, wow. Feel free to pause the video and try to find the only winning move for Vincent here while I give you a couple of seconds. Believe it or not, it's bishop to b1. And yes, there are some moves you could consider, like queen to a1, but that obviously doesn't work. You can just capture on h7 and pick up the queen. If you go for knight captures on c3, well, it does look like something, but after picking up the knight, you're just going to be up a piece. So the real thing you have to see is that after queen to b2, it seems like there's nothing there, because if queen captures the knight, then there's queen captures the bishop. But you have to look further. Queen captures on a4, queen captures on b1, even with check, and knight to f1 seems like white is not doing anything, but there's no defense here for black. Queen a8, that's it. There's no defense against queen to a8. However you try to defend, but it's still not easy to calculate because there are all of these moves like queen to f5, then bishop to c8, but tactically it doesn't work. I think Vincent just decided that it's too crazy to work, and then he just didn't calculate, because Vincent can calculate all of this. But I'm going to show it. Queen f5. Okay, now you're ready to meet queen to a8 with bishop to c8, and you might even look at it up to this point and then say, too bad, it doesn't work. But knight to g3, you force the black queen off of this diagonal. And now after queen to f6, or if you go queen b1 check, knight f1, and then another check, you can easily just go king to f2, and then at some point you're gonna block. Or no, even if queen to b1 check, you can go king to f2, and then if another check, you can block with knight to d2. So you get rid of checks, and then you play queen to a8. Or if black now tries to defend the bishop, then you go queen to a8 with the threat of bishop c7, just winning on the spot. And now if bishop to c8, which is also a brilliant defensive resource, queen captures, now you're defending, but now queen captures on b7. And it all comes down to the b pawn, as it always does. So incredible stuff here. So yeah, probably to solve this position after this knight a4 blunder, if you're thinking about the b pawn, I'm saying you find this. But Vincent played queen to e1, which is excellent. If you don't find the winning idea right away, queen e1 is the next best thing. And it's not easy to counter because there are all sorts of tricks. Like if the queen moves, even knight captures on d5, opens up the queen's path to e8. So many problems here. And also you just defend the pawn on c3. So Boris can just play pawn to h6, and he's sort of out of the woods. Not really. He's still slightly worse, but, you know, he can play. But he plays queen to b3, going after, well, he's trying to win the c3 pawn, but now bishop to b4, and now bishop to g5. He's now trying to capture on e3, and Vincent is now completely winning again, but he misses it because it's very complicated, and he's very low on time. He plays pawn to h4, which is very nice, is just not winning on the spot. The move that's winning on the spot, and like I've said, I cannot stop you from pausing the video. You can even do it now, and if, you know, find it yourselves, but it's pawn to f4. And that is the way to do it. And it doesn't matter if the bishop captures or not, you're still gonna play the exact same thing. But if bishop captures on f4, the real trick is knight to f1. And you might be thinking, how is this winning? This does not look winning at all. Let's just play h6 so we don't have to worry about checkmate, and that's it. But the problem is, look at this, queen f2. You have to do something about that hanging bishop, and if bishop to g5 or whatever, here it comes, bishop c2, and that's how you lose. Now, you either move the queen to c4 and you blunder the knight on a4, or you play queen a2 to defend the knight, and then again bishop h7 check picks up the queen on a2. So it's just one of those positions where you have to keep in mind every piece on the board and calculate on the entire board. It's not easy. You know, something that a certain someone who is also the guardian of this channel was really good at. But yeah, Vincent played pawn to h4. We have bishop to f4, and now bishop to f5. With Boris have very little to do. Again, maybe he can... Nah, there's nothing he can do. He played pawn to h5, now preparing pawn to g6, and then maybe his king can survive. But now Vincent is completely winning, and this one, it's also not easy to spot. Like, it's incredibly difficult to spot. Feel free to pause the video. Like, try to solve this one. Bishop captures on e6. Okay, that's the first move everyone thought of. And after f captures, the move no one thought of is knight to f1. But we always have to think about what the great Vasily Ivanchuk said. The hardest move to find is always with the knight back. And knight f1 just wins here. Vincent didn't find it. Vincent played knight to g4, which is similar, but this is much better. You don't have to worry about anything. And after king f7, stopping queen e6, now look at this. g3, again, the problem of the hanging bishop. Bishop to c7, and now queen e3 with queen g5 and queen e7. And there's nothing black can do. Like queen b1, queen g5. Okay, you have to get the king out of the way. And now queen e7 will pick up the e6 pawn as the bishop is again hanging. This is the hanging bishop of Boris Gelfand. That is the bishop's name, at least for this game. But after f captures on e6, as the position is incredibly complicated and Vincent is already down to 4 minutes on the clock, 8 more moves to reach time control, plays knight to g4. And the idea is similar. Should you capture the knight? Well, then, okay, just queen captures on e6, and after king h7, queen to f5 check, will pick up the bishop, and you will retain a much better position. You can even throw a check if you prefer the king on h7, and then queen captures, and if g captures, queen captures, and you're up 2 pawns, of course, you're completely winning. And also, it's probably very, very easy to go after that black king with the knight on a4. I mean, that knight, not the best move Boris made. And the only way to survive this, because knight to f1 is winning and knight to g4 is not, because you can play king h7. And now you simply cannot capture on e6, because now if you capture on e6, there's queen to b1 check. And now it's actually white who's lost. You cannot go to h2. You have to go to f2. And now look at this. Queen to c2 with check, king g1, and h captures on g4. And there's nothing, no threats. The queen here is stopping any checks along this diagonal. And I mean, g3 or bishop g3, it's going to be a big problem. So yeah, terribly difficult to calculate, but also terribly difficult for Boris. He plays pawn to e5, and he once again gives Vincent a winning position, and this time Vincent finds it. Well, not easy with so little time on the clock. Knight captures on e5, queen to c2, but now knight to d7. The only winning move, but this time Vincent finds it. King to h7, and now we have knight to f8 with check. Here there was also a potential, I would say, for a brilliancy prize. Maybe, I don't know if you can get a brilliancy prize if you already have missed 3 brilliancies that are winning, but I will show it because it's a classical game, and I know you guys love, crazy lines. You play knight f6 check. And now, again, it doesn't matter what the black king does. You either pick up the d5 pawn, and then black's position just falls apart. Or if you capture the knight, then you have queen e7 check, king to g6, queen to e8 with check, king to f5, queen to c8 with check, forcing the king back, only move king g6, and now queen to g8 with check, king f5, g4 check, h captures, and queen g4 checkmate. Yes, disgusting, I know, but also beautiful. And now after knight to f8 check, we have king to h6, and here Vincent just played knight to e6, and he was in this position on move 37 with 1 minute on the clock that Boris Gelfand resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. To give you an example, well, queen c1, obviously you can trade queens, but the endgame is more than lost. Queen captures, bishop captures, you play knight c5, and now you either force the knight to move to a silly square and you pick up the b7 pawn, or you trade and then c6, c7, you just win the game easily. And on the other hand, if you play something like queen f5, which sort of defends, yeah, there's nothing, just captures, and queen e6 check, whatever. The king goes to h7, queen captures on d5, you're down 2 pawns, and also that knight is still a silly looking piece. Even if queen captures on h4, threatening some sort of a perpetual with queen e1, queen h4, c4, you cover d1 square, and now again it's simply a matter of c5, c6, and just winning the game. But Boris, I would say, is too great of a gentleman to attempt something like this. Even though it's a team event, he decided it was time to resign. So yeah, beautifully played by both of them. Like I said, it's definitely a clash of, well, one of the players, Vincent, I mean, he's going for the top 3 now. With this victory, he climbs up to world number 4. Look at this. He's up 16 points. He's up to 27.71. Overtook Arjun, Prag, Giri, Wesley, Alireza, and Gukesh. And yeah, next one is Fabiano Caruana. Still needs to do some grinding for that, 27.89. But okay, we still don't know how Fabi will do in the US Chess Championship, so anything might happen. Then Hikaru, and then, well, the one who always rules above all without playing, Magnus Carlsen. So yeah, beautifully played by both of them, but it is Vincent who wins this one. It was a crazy game, crazy stuff happening, and it could have gone either way. Vincent was never really worse, but yeah, incredible stuff. So yeah, really hope you enjoyed it. I would like to thank P.A. Bauer, Gerard St. Pierre, Brazos Valley Chess Society, Francesco Corradi, and Uzi Shale for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. Thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day. And if you don't fancy learning 20 moves of theory like these guys, first link in the description below. Download Lotus Chess and learn crazy lines where you will sacrifice material for the initiative, and you will get very, very playable positions right from the start. See you soon.